All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. We've got a huge show for you today. It is July 3rd. It's Thursday. It's Tom Cruise's birthday. It's the day before Independence Day. I'm with a veteran of the United States Air Force, Mr. Anthony Schlegs. You are considered a veteran, Schlegs.
I know it's on my license.
You could. Does it really?
Yeah.
Do you get the veteran discount at Lowe's when you go there?
Yeah, I guess if I use it.
I would say, if you ever told, I mean, Schlegs, I'm not laughing.
They asked me, I'm like, hey, here you go. Yes, I'll take that 10%.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. You qualify for it. The United States military deemed that you have served them honorably and you've left honorably. I'm not sure exactly how that transpired, but it did.
It did.
And so, yeah,
it worked out better. It was beneficial for all parties there.
Yeah.
So.
Sometimes, to new beginnings, Schlegs.
To new beginnings.
I
tell you what, I am really excited about having a cocktail tonight after today.
I'm really excited to have a cocktail this afternoon. I've got to do this. I'm doing this show with you. I'm going to go do some lunges, get a little bumpy, Schlegs, a little legs and back. Yeah, some legs and back for me today.
What kind of legs? Because Kate and I got bumpy this morning. Super bumpy. Fed the traps for everybody.
Yeah, your traps are looking traptastic. I'm gonna do some lunges. Legs, I'll do lunges. I'll do some belt squats. I'll do some RDLs. I'm gonna do some Nordic isos. That was recommended to me by Dr. Stu to keep this hamstring going. I did actually get 16 110s in yesterday at about an 18 pace, so I felt pretty good about that. Didn't want to push it too hard, so I was, but that was a good solid pace. Ran him inside Schlegs with the sweatshirt on. It was nice. Got real good lather going in there, and then I'll probably do some back, some high rows, some pull ups, pull downs, maybe low rows, a little bit of transitional like side. I do like my side core rotational things on leg days, so I'll get that going and Buckeyes, and then I'm gonna go pop a cold tub, get in the shower, and then get a cocktail in my hand and get ready to celebrate responsibly. Maybe more responsibly, Schlegs, than you've done. And so, as I was digging through some pictures, I promised that I would do that yesterday, and I was sitting here doing. By the way, I was on off. We did full ride today on XM again, my last day, 3 in a row with Coach Neuheisel, which is awesome because Rick is a little bit younger than Tresh Schlegs, and so it's wild. Like, because he was coaching, he got fired at Washington the offseason before we played them my sophomore year for some nonsense. But he, just talking. We had Doug Callahan on today, the director, associate athletic director of sports performance at the Ohio State University.
Oh yeah,
we were just talking with him about the evolution of the training room of like a trainer plus maybe an assistant, and then some students. And the weight room had like head strength coach plus the assistant. And then that was it. And there was like, you both talked to the head coach independently. Whereas now nutritionists, PT, mental health professionals, 4 trainers, 5 strength coaches, interns, all different people, all working together, having like meetings every week, as much as out of season as in season, or the off season rather, to talk about what's going on, how players are progressing, their load management, how they're feeling, what it ultimately is, just all of those different things. And then like even your guy, Dr. Dickel, Dr. Dan, who does like just the sports performance and all the measuring that they do of everybody and their speed and their O2 uptake, their recovery, all of these things, and just how that transpired from then until now. And oh my gosh, I can't think of the guy's name, because Rick was saying his last year, this is how we got to the genesis of this story, that his last year coaching was at UCLA. It's his alma mater. He goes, we're greased up to be really good. They had a quarterback there by the name of Brent Hundley, true freshman. He was, I recruited him. I got him there. The previous 2 years we had been kind of building. We were good, but not great. Because we have Brent Hundley. And as you know, he's like, after spring ball, we break. We're on quarters. The coaches kind of go, and then you're with the strength staff and the student trainers. He's like, well, at UCLA, we didn't have football-specific trainers. We had trainers for everybody. And so it was the off season, but to them, it was also the summer. He was, so the couple of trainers that were like the actual trainers that were being paid, not the student interns, they left for the summer. And he goes, Brent Hundley went home to graduate because he had enrolled early, went home to graduate, and he was playing pickup basketball, tweaked his knee. So he came back. He didn't want to tell anybody. And so he came back. He's lifting on it. It's swelling. He goes in the training room. Student trainers put some ice on it. He keeps lifting for the next 3 or 4 weeks, put some ice on it, put some ice on it. And, the student trainer wasn't going to say, like, well, maybe we should get an MRI. Maybe we should try to solve this problem. The main trainers weren't there. Rick goes, I get back from vacation. All the coaches are out. All of a sudden they come back. Like, well, he needs to get an MRI. Well, instead of it being June 6th, it's now July 20th. They realize he's got to have a scope. And so now he's going to miss all training camp. And then he's going to subsequently miss the season. And Rick's like, we're building an offense around this guy. And he wants the red shirt because he's not going to be in training camp. So he can get going. He goes, we end up going, I think, 6 and 7 that year. And he talks about the games they lose and this and that. He goes, if we would have had a quarterback, Brent Hundley, goes, we probably win 9 or 10 games.
No doubt.
That's not my job. And it was just wild to kind of, because he goes on the next year. He beats UCLA the next 3 years, gets drafted in the second round, all this stuff. But he goes, because there was just student trainers there, they're not communicating with us. We're on vacation. They're not talking to the strength coach. You have an 18-year-old who's working out, who's having chronic knee swelling when they had no prior issues. Like, that's not something that's normal. But there was like no integration and communication, and you're like shaking your head. So a whole staff got fired due to the fact that there was no communication. And so
no communication and no high GSF that they would have regular people, because like that wasn't that long ago.
No, it was 2012, 2013.
Exactly. So like 2013 is when Ohio State was introduced to the sports science side, and that was through a partnership with the Air Force Research Lab that reached out to me because I went to Air Force, and some of the people that were there working on those things while I was playing there were now working at Wright Pat. And that's how it happened. People don't know this. I mean, you think of 2014, 21 of 22 starters started the year, finished the year, but we were doing things. That's why I was like, this is a great partnership before anybody knew about it. And it got approved because I was like, guys, they're going to give us all this stuff because they want as much data points as they can with a population that's close to that of special operators that they can. And you're 70 minutes away, 60 minutes away. And we were doing prescribed central nervous system recovery based on our best guys. Yeah. And we were doing training load and monitoring. We really didn't know what it was. Like, we were telling the coaches what was going on. They don't know, but it actually was great insight to where they don't need to know. You need to freaking know to then communicate to the coach as to what is actually going on with your guys and where you need to modify, don't miss, and you can stay ahead of the curve. But that communication, that was, over a decade ago, and he's doing this. And again, it just goes to show, like UCLA, Olympic sport coaches.
Yeah.
That's why everybody out there, like, there is a difference between Olympic sport coaching and football. It's just our sport is 365. They do have summers, right? And they're out of the building and they're in and they're out. Does not mean I'm not talking about the quality of care. That's a very, very poor example at UCLA. But I'll tell you this, Heather Mason is the head of the Olympic side at Ohio State, and they all communicate like that for all 35 other sports, and they do a hell of a job. And I know what she goes through, man. So they're doing that at Ohio State. It's terrible that, and I think sometimes people don't understand that is the job. Yeah. Like, that's what they go into. Like, this guy is relying upon somebody else to do their job to make sure my kids are prepared so I can go into camp. And you have all these these notions of what you can be, and then you can't because you don't have a dude. And that's kind of the point. And it goes back to what Coach Locke said, like his job at Ohio State. And this is why just so everybody knows, this is why now everybody brings everybody when they go get a job. It just is what it is. But Coach Locke's mission was like, my job is to make sure that Ryan Day is the best head football coach in college football by making my room the best room that they can possibly be. Like, that's his job. And that's how he goes about doing his business. And Ryan, any head coach, needs an entire staff and support staff to have that same mindset.
And if they're not, then they're not aligned and you end up with a mess. And so that's what they're doing right now. Like, obviously, this is their week off. They come back. They're going to start working a different way, load stuff, but they've got all of this information that they've been collecting now for 10 years. And so, like Schlegs was saying, at the beginning, you didn't know what the information meant. Now you have 10 years of data around it in color of saying, when this happens, then the data says this. Well, let's see how this guy's performing. Let's see their injury rate. Let's see all these other things. And so now you can marry that stuff together. And so the sports science has come so far that, I mean, you're literally tuning Ferraris now. Before you were like a mechanic rebuilding junk, scrap cars. Now, I mean, it's the fine tuning of Ferraris, and that's why the soft tissue injuries and a lot of the return to play, the recovery stuff, it's all there for Ohio State. And as Doug was talking about the circle of care for Ohio State, he goes, there's a lot more spokes in that wheel, and the wheel's a lot bigger than what it was 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, because when we didn't really have anybody to do anything. And because of that, you're getting a much more finely tuned athlete, and you know how to train them, and you can get more out of people.
I would say this, like training modalities, again, do not look at Instagram. The fundamentals of building blocks of training that have been around for eons are the same fundamentals that you do. It's just you can look at an individual because you have 110, 120 athletes. And yes, certain position groups need certain things, but then within the program, I can be really specific and intentional to allow this guy to be at his max capacity. And I always say this about sports science. All sports science is it is a guardrail, and it also validates that the work is working. That's it. It can't be the end all be all, because you can't train toughness in November, So you still have to go and do really hard things. You still have to train really, really hard. Attention training, as Mick calls it. But it allows you to be more intentional. And especially with this demographic of athlete that's out there, it allows you to communicate the why you're doing what you're doing, as opposed to saying this is just how we've always done it. And that's kind of the point. It's a funny story, Bob. I got a great he's actually getting his master's at Ohio State, was exercise science major there. He works at the Armory. Him and Trinity, another strength coach, were just getting in the weeds of a lot of our baseball athletes. And they're like, hey, we're really noticing an asymmetry all on their left side. And I was like, oh, well, tell me why you think that is. And they kind of didn't know. I was like, well, think about it. Every time you throw or you pitch, you decelerate on your left. Every time I swing, I'm decelerating with my left leg. So therefore, what are some things that we can do within their training to make sure that the right comes up, or to also just stress the tissue a little more? Like you were talking about your isometric on that hamstring, Bob. Exact same thing. You can microdose that certain days away from competition, and now you touch, you're getting tissue resiliency. Boom, done. That's all you got to do. That's how you take the science to the practical aspect of training. And Mick and the boys with Dr. Dickel and them do a great job, because Mick, here's the thing too, the head strength coach, just like the head football coach, can't be the expert in all areas, right? You have to know, but you also got to be able to trust your other guys, your assistants, to be able to do their job. Your thing is, I need to aggregate all this information, and then how do we execute it as a team clearly and concisely to our athletes? And that's what they do. They do a great job of it.
Absolutely. I mean, think of it like this. I mean, it's basically like the presidential cabinet. You're running the ship, but you've got someone that knows about this and about that, and they bring in, give us a report, tell us what's going on. You make the decision based upon the data that you ultimately have there. But it's a lot different than it was in 1980, and it's a lot different than it was in 2000, and heck, even in 2010, with the way they can measure the data now, to measure the human body, and then the prescriptive measures you can have to help it recover have changed dramatically. You know what else has changed? Protection. Parents, athletes, listen up. Protect what matters most with Export mouth guards. Trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards. How about this? They're scientifically tested to help absorb those high impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. We've been talking about it, how sports performance has improved. Export is a part of that with their 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber. Couldn't do this before. They 3D print it right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication. So then you can focus on your game and not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Go visit exportguards.com/Bobby today to save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. We've got some non-sports performance related things coming up, some big news in Buckeye land. But first, some legendary nights from Ohio State campus on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lakespur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lakespur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, Schlegs. I got to throw this bit of nugget out to you. One of our guys, Craig, who always messages us a lot, had a bit of information, a little nugget, since you love the side nuggets.
Oh, I love them.
You know who Ewan McGregor is?
Yeah.
Actor. Yeah, actor. He played Obi-Wan in the new Star Wars, episodes 1 through 3. Done a lot of the great stuff. His brother, Colin McGregor, not Connor, but Colin, is a pilot in the Royal Air Force in Great Britain. You know what his call sign is? OB2.
What is it?
OB2.
I like it.
That's amazing. I was like, that's a great little nugget there for you. All right. So we talk a lot about sports performance and about the Buckeyes and making sure they're performing in peak physical condition. I was talking to a friend of mine. It was his birthday. One of his best friends from Ohio State came up. His daughter runs track at Brown. And that she's like, I can't drink. I'm in training and this and that. And she's doing all her clams, reverse clams, all this stuff. Like, let me see your stuff here after she did her sprint workout. And I was like, okay, taking a look at it. And I go, you know what some of this stuff is? And she was saying some of the girls we have, they go out and they drink and then they run even better the next day. I go, yeah, because it's about mental toughness, doing hard things. Okay. And so sometimes you have to go get after it the night before. And then knowing you're probably not going to perform at your peak naturally. So you got to dig deep. You got to get on in there. You got to find a little bit of something that makes you you. And so as you're training through that, battling a hangover, trying not to throw up, but still trying to win everything. Like that's where you develop that toughness,
True.
that understanding. And then you transfer that to a game. And all of a sudden I'm rested, sleep in a hotel with a good meal the night before. Dude, no adversity there. But we have to create those adverse situations. And so Mick does it in the weight room now with the guys and doing it. We used to do it organically on like Thursday nights before a Friday workout. And so, Pat, we can start scrolling through some of these about some of the stuff that happens. And that, I don't know who that gentleman is right there.
I don't either.
But I remember he woke up in the morning and had lines on his face from his bed liner in his truck, sleeping there. And I was staring at that. And then, oh, wait, there's that same guy as again. AJ might be checking his pulse. A young, short-haired AJ Hawk.
Is that Doug right there shooting me with a water gun?
Shooting you with a little mini squirt gun.
I don't know how you can tell that's me.
Well, you have the one tribal tattoo, Schlegs. That's why you don't get there's more tattoos and a familiar face hanging out.
It's already off. Shirt's already off. It's a good time, guys.
Absolutely. With AJ wearing
that's that John Deere. That's that John Deere hat right there, man.
It is. Hey, who's got 2 thumbs and likes to party, Schlegs?
This guy.
That is your John Deere hat. I didn't even think about that when I was looking through these pictures.
I missed that hat so bad because they changed it because it had like a little gold thing around the brim, I guess that's the brim. Yeah. But in the John Deere part, it just added a little flavor. Now they're just solid green with the patch. That was a juicy hat right there. That
was great. I mean, oh, there he is, getting a stretch in, Schlegs. Just leaning over, hanging out.
Hey, guys, look at your face. Honestly, I'm just so happy I'm here for your enjoyment. And you know what's good is that I was probably 21, 22 years old at the time, 21. And I can see some of my scalp there. And it's not that far away from where it is now. Good thing I've been using that Spartan or it'd be a lot worse.
Yeah, keep it thick, man. Keeping that nice hair thick. That's a great point, Schlegs. I mean, the stuff you figure out in these, probably still the same density. Spartan's helping it hold on. I think we got some more stuff in here.
Honestly, those traps look really good. Hey, there's Craig.
There's Craig. There's AJ. That's you with the shirt on. So I think that was probably earlier.
That was right at the beginning. That was probably after I shotgunned 6. That was the precursor. It was like, how do you know? you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So it's like, how do you do that? Just shotgun 6 and you're just ready to go.
Yep. Oh, and there's Slick and Age back there making some drinks. I don't know. The face that you were making in this was so amazing. Like, I don't know who you were looking at, what you were talking to.
No, it was like one of these, like
playing
you
some,
know, are you? It was kind of probably like, are you challenging me? Are you like really? You think that? You think you could? Okay.
yeah, looking like Peter Cetera right there.
Oh, look at that guy.
Yeah, I have no idea.
How much do you think you weighed right there?
What's amazing is that was 2000, and you would have gotten here, so 3. So I was probably 245, 250. Very lean 245,
Yeah,
250.
no doubt.
But I always had big legs, so I carried a lot of weight in my legs and butt. So like people are like, man, you didn't look as big. I'm like, well, I mean, I was not a full man yet. I was probably 19, 20 years old.
Look at those traps.
The traps were popping back then. I mean, I was a big hang clean. Make sure you get those traps to finish up the explosion. I wanted to make sure I got one of me in there too, Schlegs, so people could laugh at that.
You know, you look good though. Like yours, all of mine were that. All of mine were, and I think I already spilled some. Again, like I was probably. Remember the first time that we went out? You're like, you guys were like, hey, you like to drink beer? Sure. We're like, well, what do you want? How about a pitcher of beer? You guys were thinking it was for everybody, and then I just slid my hand right into the handle.
Yeah,
that was my cocktail, the entire one. Kind of like, hey, I got 2 hands. I used to be able to claw 4 of those bad boys together, bottles, same time. Yeah, some got on the shirt, but I'm trying to be efficient with my time.
My question is, how would you not chip your teeth?
Nah, just right here.
I mean, like you get that glass, you got 4 bottles, four dongs trying to slide them all in there at the same time. Like that, I can't believe you didn't chip your teeth.
Yeah, no. Strong teeth, strong enamel.
Aaron's got a great question from the chat. Can we count the 12 ouncers as culture reps? 100%. That was a culture. It was a cultural night. It was what that was. Culture, team building. Those are culture reps right there, folks. I'm telling you right now. As you're going through.
You got one more. You got one more. I don't have any more. And then there is the picture of you behind me at the sink where I'm just spitting into it. I went there. I went to failure. I went to failure, boys. I did it. The culture rep.
The culture rep. And then the best part is the real culture reps come the next day when you wake up. And now when I drink some water intermittently so that when I wake up, my mouth doesn't feel like someone poured cat litter down it and it's like as dry as the desert. That is the best because that just sums up the night. Like, I mean, were you worried about Schlegs driving home? No way. He was going to hit a nap in the bed. Just face down on your hard bed liner. That had to be so terrible.
Yeah, because that was one of those original spray-in ones that were like really cheap and chippy. I'll tell you this, guys, that was a good truck right there. I had the KC lights on it.
I used to drive that bad boy around. I'd stand up in the back and hold on to the roll bar.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, wildly dangerous, but a lot of fun. We do that running around campus. Is kind of a little Teen Wolf-esque, Schlegs. I mean, not the full car surfing, but if you would have gotten a wreck, I definitely would have flown over top of the vehicle, God knows where. But then you wake up the next day and you've got a mouth. It's like, I mean, you're so thirsty and so dry. You're like the desert. Your muscles are not prepared. Your sympathetic nervous system is in a state of chaos. And you ask yourself, like, hey, we got to go. And usually Fridays were crazy hard days.
That was the conditioning day. That was the conditioning day.
Yeah, heavy competitive in the weight room, like going back and forth. And
then we run after the lift on those days where I want to fight people.
We'd have those hard runs after that.
I want to fight Al Jiggity.
And you had nothing to sweat out. It's like amazing when you pull something or whatever. And I remember one of the times Mangold, when we did that, his culture up, he literally went and then laid down in the couch, face down, kind of like you in the because we had to get up at 6 a.m. for these workouts. So we'd go over there at 5. So you're running like 4 hours sleep. So Nick went over and just fell down face first in the couch in the lounge. He was supposed to go down and get lunch with his wife in Athens. And I was like, Nick, and he hadn't showered, nothing, and just laid there. I mean, you probably could have took a dump on his back and he wouldn't have moved. Like it was amazing. And we all laughed and tried to wake him up. No interest in that. And what time did you get down to Athens? He's like, like 3:30. He goes, I woke up there. It's like 1 o'clock. Everybody's gone. He's like, I'm so sweaty and gross, still really thirsty because I hadn't really drank much. And So I showered, got in the car. Jenny had been calling me. My phone had been blowing up. It was an absolute chaos.
I'm happy you have those, Bob, and then they bring a smile and a chuckle
Oh, yeah.
to your day.
I got some other ones from the night of my 21st birthday too. It's ironic, and then some of the ones I've got one of my pictures from graduation that my mother-in-law took of me. My parents didn't even go. But yeah, I'm glad we have those. I don't know who took them, who was on whose camera that even was.
It was one of these right here.
Yeah, the old school digital. Yeah, the old school roll cameras, and you take them, and that's those things now. They're embedded. I've got them in my phone as well digitally. So in case if the house caught on fire, one of the first things I would grab would be those pictures, because those things are priceless. Because I love showing them now to the kids, and I've got some other ones and some other fun times that I'll maybe reveal a little as the weeks go on here throughout the summer. But a lot of fun. I thought we'd get more comments in the chat from it, to tell you the truth. Those were some great shots. Those are aces.
Yeah, well, hey, man, it's 4th of July weekend, man. Everybody's out there. They're going to their place. I understand. I understand what they're doing.
Oh, you're having a good time. So, hey, listen, celebrate responsibly. Make sure you take care of yourself.
Don't blow your fingers off, everybody.
Don't blow your fingers off. I mean, we saw what happened with my man Grogan yesterday. We put that picture up there. If you get hit in the eye, that's going to be bad. Make sure you keep all your digits. Celebrate responsibly. Crazy part is the brake lights are on. Yeah, I don't know why that was, Schlegs, in the truck. I don't know if someone drove you. I don't know. It's a great.
That's right in front of AJ's house. I didn't have. Maybe I don't know why they're on. I don't know.
It's a great question.
You know what? They probably pulled it in because it was on the street.
Yeah, so you don't want to get a ticket, so we pulled it in the ramp that had the 2 cement walls, so our doors
probably just out there in the street. And they're like, "Hey, we got to get him out of the street. Let's just roll it into my driveway." Because that was right by his fence.
Yeah, because at least then you're on private property and not out on a public street, just passed out in the back of your car. So yeah, so those are some good nights, some culture reps, some training. I'm going to see if I can get to that point today, Schlegs. It'll be tough, but I'm a grinder. I've always been there on both on the field and on the app. Today, I think for some conditioning, Schlegs, I'm going to get to the resistance treadmill. My hamstring's feeling pretty good. I think I might do 15, 10-second bursts with a 20-second rest, 2-to-1 rest to run on those, and start getting my legs in shape for this half gasser, so I start working on some of the cuts and get ready to do that. What are your thoughts there?
You know what? I actually like that when your hamstrings like that. It's the max velo because of the angle in which your body comes through and the memorization phase. So I do like more accelerative work, like resistance, because you're never going to be at max capacity as far as the stress you're putting on your hamstring, and you're going to be at an angle. So it's better.
Oh yeah, it won't be putting that heat on the hamstring. Be more in the drive phase. Keeping those hamstrings out of more glute activation, some quad run, which is what you need to be able to burst and cut and do all those things, not high speed running at the end. All right, we're going to put a pin in that. More news about JJ Smith. Our guy Jeremiah has a big NIL deal that he signed. May surprise you. And I also talked to Navarro from The Athletic on Full Ride, Schlegs, and talked a little bit more about that interview and some of the things that he said and his relationship with JJ. So we'll get into all that here coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. Please, if you're watching, subscribe, leave your questions, comments, all the stuff there. I like to go back, check them out, and then we can get to answer them in tailgate talk and make sure we're delivering you the content you want. Who was it that just threw it in there? Terry Slusher said, Bob, Schlegs, when we get closer to the tailgate or the Texas game, can we bring out the whiteboard to possibly see some of Matt P's schemes to slow down Arch Manning? I'll talk a little bit generically about what they're doing, and we can draw some different things up. I try not to get too far into it because there is the elements, the first game of the year, so nobody has full film on that one, and to make sure that you're doing right by the program and leaving a level of intrigue so when they get to the games, no one knows exactly what they're going to do. But we can talk some of the stuff, and I'll draw up some of the things we did in New England and some of the things that I suspect that you would try to do to slow down Arch Manning. At least if that was me making some of these decisions moving forward, Schlegs. But wanted to throw this out there. We'll start with the Jeremiah Smith NIL deal, Pat, if you want to throw it up. Ohio State and Nike School. J.J. Smith signing with Adidas. And so I'm curious to see the details of that. We've talked a little bit about some other guys doing it, how that's ultimately going to work. That's a big coup for him. And I wonder if this is a deal, Schlegs, that he's probably got 2 years left in college. If this deal extends beyond that to him even maybe going to the NFL with some boosters and like jumps, if you will, should he be drafted in the first round or should he win the Heisman Trophy and some of these different accelerators that could be in there. There's bonus incentives, but kind of big news for Ohio State being a Nike school and JJ signing with Adidas.
Yeah, we heard a little bit about this with remember Cooper Flagg was talking about how he made $20 million and this is kind of part of it, right? So, let's say Jeremiah Smith goes to Florida. Do they have the bandwidth? Does he have the national recognition that you would at Ohio State? Win a national championship, right? Even though they're a Nike school, we saw that Adidas signed Tennessee as their premier school, $200 million for that contract. And so they're kind of, I'm just looking at this from a business perspective as to what are they trying to do? And we talked about if Jeremiah Smith shaved half of his head, a lot of kids would want to shave half their head. And they're like, all right, these guys are even more are bigger draws than potentially even NFL wide receivers because of the national brand and following of the university that they go to. And since NIL and there is no longer a restriction as to potentially, and I don't know this, we got to get an attorney on what that contract looks like from Ohio State. It might be where when he's on the field, he's wearing obviously the Ohio State jersey with the Nike swoosh, but on his feet, he has to spat. Maybe. I don't know, right? Or it has to be covered up potentially. Doesn't mean he can't do endorsements, talk about his footwear, post about the footwear, etc. But I'm interested to see what that dynamic looks like on game day. But again, this is how when athletes choose to go and get less money from Ohio State in the grand scheme of that allocation of $20 million, is called 18.5, 25, whatever it is. We can elevate you because of the brand that we are and what you could potentially do here. You can be at this, and there is no cap because all those things now have to be approved and vetted by Deloitte, and this is a legitimate NIL deal. And he's like, dude, why would I want to go somewhere else? Yeah, they might pay me a little bit more money there, but my NIL deal, because of the brand that is Ohio State, is significantly greater. I'm going to stay. That's kind of the point, which goes back to, I think Ohio State has done a great job of not throwing their own potential money at just players, right? But doing it kind of with intent in the right way that goes back to the culture that they are founded on.
Yeah, and it's a big piece of it, Schlegs, like you said. I mean, the broadcast ability of Ohio State and what they give you with the quality of a platform, and then obviously what he's done as a player is huge. I'm curious to see. I guess it's going to be one of the things we're going to have to figure out is how this is going to look, and then is he allowed to wear the Adidas gear in interviews? What does that look like? And just us talking about this right now, I mean, Adidas is getting their money's worth with it because it was on social media, and so a bunch of people are probably pulling it. And hey, we got a Nike athlete, or we have an Adidas athlete at a Nike school. How's that going to work? And so that just brings up even more more recognition about that. And since we're here with our guy JJ, let's throw up his 225, Schlegs, and you were talking about this a little bit yesterday, with his unbelievable strength and athletic prowess.
Also Iron Buckeye as a freshman and a sophomore. So I was telling somebody this the other day, Bob. I was like, it's all right. Side nugget, Bob. Brandon, Audi. Steph got an Audi the other day. Brandon it was me and David Patterson. We were doing a thing, I think at Westland Mall or something. And there was no line. Tuttle Mall, huge line. This mall, no line. And I was like, dude, sit down. And we just started talking shop, me and David and Brandon for an hour. And I gave him a dip. And he thought it was the coolest thing. And there it was at this Audi dealership. I thought it was amazing. Anyways, so think about this, guys. Not only is he one of the best players in America, But incoming freshman, Iron Buckeye. Sophomore, Iron Buckeye. Really quiet guy, Bob, as you have talked about. It's like he really doesn't say a whole lot, but he does a whole lot. And when he came in, 210 pounds, he said 205, 208. I would say probably 208, 210. And now he's 225. Last year he was about 217, 218. So, like, think about this, right? 225. He did 225 20 times on the bench. I mean, like, I did it the other day. I could probably do like 23, 24 maybe right now, Bob. Maybe. I sure can't do the next thing. He ran 22 miles an hour in a game.
With pads.
I want you guys to understand.
That's fully loaded, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, guys, like 22 miles an hour in a game. He's wearing pads, he has helmet, and he's running with a football. And he's reaching 22 miles an hour. That's not his max velo. That's the point. It's over 23 at that size. 6'4", 225, running 23 miles an hour. That is a freak of nature, guys.
That is cooking,
Glad
man.
that he's a Buckeye.
Glad that he's a Buckeye. And I'm also glad that our friends over at Backer Buckeyes, premium Buckeye gear for premium Buckeye fans, bckr.com. Backer, go check them out. Founded to make better quality fan gear. They've got the products that you want, from windbreakers, cold gear, the raincoats, the hats, all of it, with all of the doodads and the upgrades and the whatchamacallits and all the stuff out there. They have the features you want, like the golf and fishing. And I tell you about it every single day because it's great and I love wearing their stuff. Thankfully, I don't need it right now because it's hot outside. So go check them out. It's Backer, bckr.com. Go there, buy some stuff. A portion of the proceeds goes to Ohio State, and use promo code all caps Bobby at checkout. And with that, you get free expedited shipping. Backer, bckr.com. Check them out. We got our headlines coming up next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, Schlegs, and we got a great show lined up. We've got some of our headlines brought to you by our friends over at Lake Spur Marketing. So I tell you, they're the ad agency you want to deal with because they're trustworthy. The strategies are phenomenal. Their performance is fantastic. They build and customize the strategies to fit your needs. This is some cookie cutter plan that they're going to throw out there for you, from their digital placement to their broadcast buys to creative. Everything is between you and Lake Spur. They've got you covered of how to handle all of it. This isn't a set it and forget it. They will work with you to help continue to craft it as your needs and goals change. All their tactics are customized directly to you. They let you do what you do best, which is you work on the business. They'll work on growing it and allowing you to prosper. Lake Spur Marketing, the proof is in their partners. Visit them online at lakespurmarketing.com. All right, Schlegs, we've got another Dan Lanning cringe-worthy video.
Oh, my gosh.
We had him with the dude in the pool, remember, hanging out?
That decommitted.
He did decommit. Wait, that guy committed then decommitted?
Yeah.
Well,
he opened his recruiting back up.
Well, maybe it's because he wanted Dan to throw him in the pool. But if you could pull that up, Pat, the Dan Lanning cringe. I watched this, like, you put that in there, and I'm like, my goodness, man, what are we doing? Let's take a little peek at the head coach at Oregon.
On my stash, all black, you can call me Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash. Let's go.
Watch it, Schlegs, and it's like, it's making me noticeably uncomfortable as I'm seeing this. Like, it's, oh gosh, like, I mean, I don't try to do stuff like that because that just makes me like nerd dad to my kids, you know. And I feel like Dan Laney's kind of approaching that point where you got to kind of understand your wheelhouse of where you're at in life.
Dude, I'm just looking at this right now. Let's go Oregon football recruiting class. They're
up there. They do a good job.
Yeah, they do. That's just bumpy. I
You know
don't,
what
I don't think
you know what would be nice, Schlegs, is if in the box, like, you know, when you have those surveys after you do something, like, how did you hear about us? You know, friend, Instagram, TV, whatever it is, radio, whatever. Bobby Carpenter show. How did you find out about us? It should be, why did you sign with Oregon? And like, is it the Nike? Was it the money? Was it Dan Lanning's sweet recruiting videos? That should be a box on there that they could check. And I'm curious to see what the conversion rate would be.
You know, one way that you could spin it is that he knows his guys. Like, you know, the music in the weight room has changed over the years of Mickey's tenure, but the classics are still the classics. The bangers are still the bangers. And you will throw in a little bit of what the guys want, and they get super juiced that somebody they like happens to play that they recognize, and not just 90s, 2000s rock or maybe some CCR that Mick likes, right? And some of the stuff that I like. But the point is this, is like when I as a parent, do I want somebody to be their friend or I want somebody to be their coach? I want them to be their coach. Like, I don't need you to like what my kids do. Hell, I don't want you to like their music. I'd rather you like my music because you have a lot more wisdom, and I want you to give that to them as opposed to giving them what they want. I want you to coach them hard, you know? So that's how I kind of think about it. But again, if that's what they do, that's what they want to be about, then that's what they're about. And
Well, they're about that life, Schlegs.
Exactly. Turn that on.
I spent more money on
that was a collab. Him and Meek Mill. Him and Meek Mill and Diddy.
Well, Diddy, 2 counts, might do some prison time. We'll see what happens. Here's the question: more significant punishments, Diddy or Michigan?
I know. Somebody hit that up. It's in there. I put it in there. They're like, somebody posted. What do they post? If Diddy was found not guilty, Michigan is definitely getting off with nothing.
It's amazing.
I saw that. I just started laughing.
Yeah, well, some of it's the evidence on Diddy.
They know this.
Bad dude and a weirdo. Is he a bad dude and a weirdo? Yeah.
But you got somebody in DMs and there's no way that you didn't know. And I go back to even what transpired with Tress and the tattoos and even.
Oh, I got a great deal for Tress. I got a great deal for Tress next week that we're gonna have to get. You didn't put it in the deal, but we'll get it going. But oh yeah, all the stuff that with Tress, like how crazy that is now. What did you know? What should you have known? All of those different things. That's good. We're gonna hit a quick break here. We've got our tailgate talk coming up next. Oh gosh, we got some great stuff in here. It's our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck Schlegs. This is tremendous. As we
Jaeger bombs.
Throw it up here with our guy Chuck saying after the 03 Team Up North loss, I was there for that. I was at a buddy's house on Norwich, drank a large quantity of Jaeger bombs, and then did some beer bongs after that. I had to be carried back to his house with his A&F Abercrombie & Fitch buzzed boxers showing. It's funny because that's where AJ lived, is on Norwich.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
I was probably with you guys. Chuck, I was probably there, bro.
Yeah.
I watched it too because I couldn't play that year.
Exactly. So Schlegs just sat there, watched it, hung out, and was going wild. Chris Kersey says, nothing makes me want to play football like a dude in the back of an Uber black SUV getting down with his homies. What's next? Some KFC and streaking. That may have been you, Schlegs. That's how you ended up face down the back of that truck.
Hey, side nugget to that. Listen, Waffle House, old school, like KFC down in Texas, we had a golden fried chicken.
Mm.
And when you're really
GFC.
angry, yeah, it's similar. It doesn't matter. I'm just including all fried chicken in there. You got to have some of that grease to soak up some of that alcohol.
Yeah.
And you're getting the white meat in there. You're getting some protein. Like, what's your excuse? Like, no, it's protein and underneath all the fried stuff. And I need a little bit of that. Give me some of those biscuits too. Really soak it up in there. Good times though. Streaking. I wouldn't say I ever streaked, but I definitely woke up naked.
Yeah, a couple times.
Happened.
There's a good one with this. Chris Kersey threw in there. Is David Boston the best previous Buckeye comp in terms of size? I would say yes.
I did too.
I think Jeremiah's a little taller than David. I think David was probably 6'2", 6'3". I think Jeremiah's close to 6'3", 6'4"-ish. I think he is bigger. Jeremiah is bigger than David at this point in his career. David got huge in the NFL and probably too big to play wide receiver. He was like 250 at one point, 240, like in running crazy fast. That's why he blew his patellar tendon out and had some injuries. But I would say that that's probably a pretty good comp as far as the size and physicality Schlegs at this point in his career.
Yeah, I think when he's physically mature, he is going to look a lot like a DK Metcalf, like just physically. Jeremiah's arms and limbs are very, very long. And the thing that makes him excel is just the physiological of his body. Like the angles in which he can put power into the ground are not like what Bob and I can. It's just, he can take 2 strides out of a start and be at 5 yards. Like he accelerates on top of a defensive back so fast that's what catches them off guards. And then they're just playing catch up, and then it's predicated upon ball placement, not necessarily that they covered him. It's just more on ball placement if they can adjust to the football because they got to get back in phase because you just ran by them. And that's kind of the point. And that's the other thing, Bob, you made a great point. All of this, all the sports science, all the things that we have, it goes into what is required for you to be at your max capacity for the position you play and how you play it that adds value. Back in our day, like Bob, you played Sam and you played defensive end. And you were probably in the wheelhouse of 255, 260, and you needed that because of the size of guys that you were going against while still being able to run with a wheel route or take a back to the flat or cover the, flat or whatever. I myself was already strong enough. I was 250, which was too much. But you still have to know the things that make you good at what you do while also living in the parameters of which are what are going to allow you to play special teams or run with the guy vertical, right? Like, so all of that goes into what they do, and they have parameters based on body fat, body comp, et cetera, as to how much can he actually hold to not stress those attendance to where he can get hurt. And that goes back into the load management and the volume that they have at practice.
BFS, bigger, faster, stronger. Schlegs. That was always my mantra. And so they figured out they're much more scientific now, as we've talked about all show.
Owens is a similar size, Troy.
He is, but Terrell Owens,
full maturity. When he's fully mature, that's what I think they'll look like.
Yeah. And so they've got that. Plus, I think he's more athletic. T.O. is a little stiff. Straight line, linear speed.
And so is DK. DK's I think JJ.
Those are some good comps. We got to take a break. We're coming back with our Dude of the Week. All right, coming in now for our Dude of the Week, Schlegs. It's July 3rd. I'm doing a show on the 4th, so happy birthday, America. Please celebrate responsibly. Enjoy. We'll get some great stories coming back next week for you. But it's Tom Cruise's birthday. So, Pat, there we go. Look at that vampire. 63 years young, Schlegs. Getting ready to reboot Days of Thunder.
Oh, my gosh. For real?
Yeah.
It's coming?
They're bringing back Cole. What is this? Cole Trickle?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Cole Trickle, bringing back Cole Trickle. I don't know if Robert Duvall will be reprising his role. He's like 95, but maybe
He
not quite
could.
though. He's in his 90s. Tom Cruise, though, he'll be there, and it'll be fun to watch. You got to do the
Hopefully,
week
had a
strikes.
son, hopefully has a son that's a driver, and his name is Dick Trickle.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be? Dr. Dan Dick Trickle. So all that for you there, Schlegs. We appreciate it. Fantastic. Yeah, Pitt did the F1. Cruz does the NASCAR. Who wins? I don't know. Both of them look like vampires to me. They're rolling along. Happy birthday, America. Once we cross over, dude, we're in the 250th year of our country's birth, and we'll celebrate that next year, 366 days from now. Celebrate responsibly and enjoy it. We'll catch you up Monday on the Bobby Carpenter Show.